My name is Ken.
And my name is Jason.
And today we're reviewing
Battlestar
Battlestar Galactica.
Galactica. So BSG was originally published in 2008 by Fantasy Flight Games, and it is based on the TV series of the same name, the newer one, not the really old one.
Yeah. Players actually take the role of characters from the Battlestar Galactica TV series, and must actually cooperate with each other in order to actually make it to the end goal, to make it to Cobalt, which is the planet that they're trying to get to in the series, earlier on in the series anyway. Though their basic roles are the same. Who is a Cylon, who's a traitor, and all that sort of jazz is yet to be determined as you go through the game.
And one or more of the players will actually be Cylons, who are secretly trying to overthrow the humans, and they only win if the humans lose. So there's a bit of a traitor aspect too. So now we're going to go over the components of BSG. This is the game board. So on the game board we have the main part, which is the Galactica itself. We also have Colonial 1 up here. These are the resource dials. This is the Cylon locations, and there are a few other miscellaneous parts too. These are the character sheets and the corresponding tokens, and some of them also have piloting tokens. This is the current player token. These are the nuke tokens. These are some civilian ship tokens. This is a base star. These are the Cylon ships, which come in Raiders and Heavy Raiders. These are Cylon damage tokens, and these are Battlestar Galactica damage tokens. These are Centurion markers. This is the fleet marker. These are destination cards. These are skill cards. These are the quorum cards. These are the title cards. These are the loyalty cards. These are the crisis cards. This is the die. These are the human ships, which come in Vipers and Raptors.
To set up Battlestar Galactica, unfold the game board in the center of the table, like such. Next you must set the dials up at the top here to their starting values. These are all indicated with the white arrow at the top. Next place 8 Vipers and 4 Raptors, and place them in the Viper and Raptor reserves. Place the fleet token on the start location over here. Afterwards, you can place all the remaining ships and tokens and such beside the board at easily accessible locations. Alright, next you must randomly determine starting player. So, Jason, call it. Heads or tails?
Heads.
The answer, of course, is tails. I get to go first.
Ah!
When you are selecting your characters, you have to keep in mind that there are actually 4 types of characters. There are support characters, military leaders, political leaders, and pilots. We're not going to go into these too far at this moment, but what you have to understand is that you either have to take from the most plentiful piles, or you can take the support character. So in our example here, I'm taking a pilot, I'm taking Kara Thrice, which means that Jason, on his pick, has to choose support, military leader, or political leader.
I choose William Adama.
Because we have to set up for a minimum of 3 people, I'm going to be choosing to play a second character as well. I'm going to take a political leader, and I'm going to take Tom Zarek. Next we must allocate the title cards. In this game there are 2 titles that need to be given out at the beginning of the game. There's the title of Admiral and the title of President. Each character in the game actually has a ranking in either title. So in the case of the Admiral, William Adama is actually first rank to receive the title of Admiral. He receives the Admiral card, the Destination deck, which is shuffled then, and the nuke tokens. Then the title President is determined. So going through our ranks, Laura Roslin is first rank, she's currently not in play. Guy Spaltar is second rank, also not in play. Third rank is Tom Zarek, which is over here. Tom Zarek receives the President title, and the Quorum deck, which is shuffled now. The next step is to set up the Loyalty deck. You must separate the loyalty cards by type. You are not a Cylon, you are a Cylon, or you are a sympathizer. The rules for creating the loyalty deck are actually located on page 6. For a 3-player game, the deck must consist of 5 You Are Not a Cylon cards, and 1 of the You Are a Cylon cards. Note that there are 4 You Are a Cylon cards, and each one actually has separate rules. When you are setting up the loyalty deck, you must shuffle these 4 cards and choose 1 at random to go into the loyalty deck. All remaining loyalty cards are returned to the box unseen, and the loyalty deck is shuffled. Each player is dealt 1 of these cards at the beginning of the game, and the remainder of the loyalty deck is placed off to the side of the board until the sleeper phase, which we'll explain later. There are 5 skill card decks that need to be placed down here in the appropriate locations. The yellow deck is politics, the green deck is leadership, the purple deck is tactics, the red deck is piloting, and the blue deck is engineering. Shuffle the crisis deck and place it near the board. Shuffle the 5 Cylon Super Crisis cards and place them near the board as well. Make sure the Admiral has the Cobol Destination card. Make sure all characters are in their starting locations, and that any character with a piloting token receives that now. Next, all players, except the starting player, receive 3 skill cards of their choice out of the options listed on their character sheets. Tom Zare can take political, leadership, and tactics. He will choose to take 1 of each. Will Adama can take leadership and tactics.
And I choose to take 2 leadership and 1 tactics.
Kara Thrace, since she is the starting player, does not receive any cards on her first turn. However, when she starts her turn, she's going to receive her full complement of cards. Next, the Destiny deck is created. 2 cards are drawn from the top of each of the piles and shuffled together. The deck is then placed up in the top here, and the Destiny deck. Last, you must set up the starting ships in space. 1 base star is placed in front of the Galactica. 2 civilian ships are placed behind Galactica. 3 Cylon Raiders are placed in front of Galactica. And 2 Vipers are launched from the launch of Viper spaces from Galactica. And now you are ready to play.
First of all, I'm going to go over the steps of a player's turn. The first of all is the Receive Skills step. This is when the current player draws the skills that are listed on his character card. Now, some character cards will actually have split skills. For example, Kara Thrace has one here. It says 1 leadership / engineering. In that case, you can choose either or. If it's more than 1, then you can split it between the 2 or choose 2 of either. It's up to you. Second is the movement step. The player can move their piece to any other location on the current ship, or they can move between ships, between the Galactica and the Colonial One, by discarding a skill card and then just moving to any location on the other ship. After movement, the player may take 1 action. So actions can come from a number of places. For example, each location generally has an action. You can also play skill cards as actions, and they will tell you what they do. And a lot of the character sheets have actions. After they have taken their action, the player then has to draw and resolve the top crisis card. And we'll go over how that works in a little bit. The 5th step is the Activate Cylon Ships step. Now, there are icons at the bottom of the crisis cards that tell you which ships might be activated, and again, we'll go over that in a little bit here. And the 6th step, and final step, is Prepare for Jump. So if the crisis card has the jump icon on it, then you move the fleet marker 1 space towards the auto jump end. If the marker actually hits the final space, then the fleet jumps, and we'll go into that in a little bit here. In addition, at the very end of the Prepare for Jump step, the starting player token actually moves 1 space to the left.
So now we're going to explain the process of going through the crisis cards. There are actually 3 types of crisis cards you will encounter in this game. There's the event cards, which are generally just an event is occurring and one player has to choose one option or another option. In this case with the water shortage, regardless of whose turn it is, this card says the president chooses. So this card would be handed to the president player, whoever that is currently, and they then decide the outcome of the card. After the crisis is resolved, the turn goes back to whoever has the starting player icon at that point. Another common type of crisis card are the skill challenge cards. The way in which a skill challenge is resolved is the current player informs everybody of what is going on here. In this case, we have a prisoner revolt. The players are all then informed of what types of skills will contribute to the positive resolution of the skill challenge. In this case, with the prisoner revolt, yellow, which is politics, green, which is leadership, and purple, which is tactics, all contribute positively to the skill challenge. The two colors that are not shown here, which are piloting and engineering, contribute negatively to the skill check. When there's a call for a skill challenge, the player to the left of the starting player is the first person that is allowed to place cards into the challenge. The player chooses whether or not they want to contribute cards to the challenge. Adama decides to contribute one card to this challenge. It is placed face down. Tom Zarek would also like to contribute one card to this challenge, which is also face down. And finally, Kara Thrace is contributing 2 cards to the skill challenge. Before the cards are collected, 2 cards are actually added from the Destiny deck. Since the Destiny deck is a deck built upon 2 random cards from each of the other colors, this means that there are 2 random cards going in here that could be positive or negative. The purpose of the Destiny deck is to hide the Cylon player if they're playing smart. The skill cards are taken, all face down, and shuffled. Afterwards, the starting player then reveals the cards one by one and counts up the total. So in this case, the skill challenge total that we needed to get the pass result was 11. The result of the skill challenge that we have was actually 11 positive, but 2 negative. One piloting card of a value of 2 was added to the pile. This means the total result is going to be 9, which is not enough to get the pass result. The next step down is the 6 plus result, which is -1 population. So in this particular instance, the skill challenge has not necessarily been failed, but it hasn't really been passed either. So the players would lose a population and then continue on. The final type of crisis is the attack. When an attack card is drawn, the starting player must set up the board such as the diagram that is listed on the crisis card. So in this crisis, a base star is placed in front of the Galactica, 2 Vipers are launched, and civilian ships are placed here, 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 and here. Make sure to follow the instructions though beforehand. In this particular attack card, it says activate raiders. So these raiders actually would have activated before the rest of the things I just placed down would have came into play. Then you would go to setup, which is what I just did. And there is a special rule on this particular card, which is going to be staying in play. The next thing I'd like to go over are the title cards in the game. Now I've already gone over the line of succession in the back of the book here on page 28. But this is what you're going to want to review in terms of the line of succession. First, we're going to go over the Admiral title. When you receive the Admiral title, you receive the Destination deck and the Cobalt card. You also receive the 2 nuclear warheads. As the Admiral, you are in charge of determining where the fleet goes every time the fleet jumps. The Admiral, because he has control over the nukes, has a special action, which is launch 1 nuke. When you launch a nuke, you have to launch it at a base star. And there is a variable chart on what is going to happen. Worst case scenario, you damage a base star twice. Best case scenario, wipe it off the table. Next we have the President title. Being the President allows you to have access to the Quorum deck. Quorum cards generally revolve around a couple different things. Raising morale is a pretty common effect of Quorum cards. Aside from that, there are other various cards that are based around getting people into the brig or potentially getting them out of the brig. Generally, the President's duty is to help the fleet along with their resources and to help weed out cylons. Keep in mind, these titles may actually change during the course of the game. If the Admiral were to be sent to the brig, immediately he would lose his title and the title would go to the next person down in the line of succession. In our particular arrangement right now, the Admiral title would actually end up going to Kara Thrace. The new Admiral gets control of the Destination cards, the Cobalt card, and the nukes. If the previous Admiral is then moved out of the brig and somewhere else, the Admiral title does not change hands again. The Admiral title remains with whomever it is currently. In addition, if the Admiral were revealed as a Cylon, the same thing would happen. The Admiral title would be moved to the next person in the line of succession. The President title, on the other hand, does not leave a character when they are moved to the brig. Instead, the President title is lost if the character is revealed as a Cylon, of course, but generally only if certain crisis cards call for the movement of the President title. The new President, of course, gains the Quorum deck, and all Quorum cards that the previous President has drawn into their hand.
Now, when the fleet jumps, the first thing that you do is remove all ships from the board. That includes Vipers, Cylon ships, base stars, civilian ships, everything. Next, the Admiral draws 2 destinations cards and chooses one of those cards. The instructions on the destination card are followed. Then if the new destination total meets or exceeds 4, then the sleeper agent phase occurs. And if it meets or exceeds 8, then the humans will actually win the game the next time that they jump. Finally, you reset the jump track to the start space. It should also be noted that the fleet can actually be jumped early at the FTL control location. However, you have to be halfway through the jump track anyway, and there's a chance that you will lose some population. As we've shown you before, there are 5 different types of seal cards. They do have some things in common though. Every card will have a name at the top. Each card will have a value next to the name. And each card will have an ability, which is listed in the game text box here. No player may have more than 10 skill cards at the end of any player's turn, so even if you somehow end up with more than 10 at the end of someone else's turn, you still have to discard down to 10 at the end of their turn. And players may not discuss their cards or show them to other players. This includes other cards as well, such as loyalty cards, quorum cards, etc.
There are several different types of crisis cards you can encounter during crisis phase. However, there are 4 different ways that Cylon's ships may actually activate during the Cylon ship's activations phase. First off is the Raiders Activate. When the Raiders Activate icon is shown, Raiders activate in the following order. They follow this list all the time, executing the most applicable, or the topmost order if possible. So the first one is attack a Viper. So since there are no Vipers in this location, they wouldn't attack anybody in this example. Next, they destroy a civilian ship if they are in the same location. Civvies are all the way over here, so they won't be doing that. Next, they move towards a civilian ship, and if there are ties, they actually go clockwise before they actually go counterclockwise. So in this case, the Raiders would actually be moving here. And finally, if there are no civilian ships, what happens is the Raiders actually attack Galactica. Each Raider gets 1 shot, and they must actually get a result of 8 on the D8 here. Next up is the launch Cylon Raiders icon. When this icon shows up in the Cylon activation phase, each base star currently in play launches 3 Raiders. If there had been 2 base stars in play when I drew this card, that means that 3 would spawn here, and 3 here as well. Next is the Activate Heavy Raiders icon. If there are no Heavy Raiders in play, one is actually launched from each base star. It moves 1 space to the closest launch icon to it. If, when the Heavy Raiders activate, it is actually in a space that has the Raider launch icon, it crashes into the ship. When it does so, a Cylon boarding party token is then placed on the boarding party track. Then, from that point on, in addition to all the activation the Cylon Heavy Raiders have out in space, every time the Heavy Raiders icon shows up, the boarding party track moves 1 step closer. If the boarding party track gets all the way to the end here, humans lose. Finally, we have the Base Stars Fire icon. When this shows up, any base stars that are currently on the board fire on Galactica. They roll a die, and on a result of 4 to 8, they hit Galactica. Next, we're going to go over how damage works in this game. First off, if the Galactica takes a damage through various ways it can actually take damage, a damage token is drawn from the pile over here and resolved. Same happens with the base star. If the base star is damaged, a damage token is drawn and resolved. The BSG has 2 types of damage it can take. It can either take resource damage. If one of these is drawn when it takes damage, it is revealed. The result is then taken off of the appropriate tracks, in this case that would be food, and then this damage icon is then removed from game. The other one is fuel. The other type are location damages. This is actually damage to the actual ship. There are 6 locations that BSG can be damaged, which would be these 6 locations here. If any one of these tokens are drawn, to resolve it, you place it on that location. If there is actually a player in a location that becomes damaged, that player is then actually placed in sickbay rather than staying in the location that they are. And if at any point all 6 of these locations are then damaged, which basically just means that all the damage tokens have probably been resolved, depending on if you've encountered these or not, the game is over and the humans lose. To resolve base star damage, you would flip it over and resolve one of the icons. There are 4 different ways that a base star can be damaged. I'll note, of course, that each base star actually only has 3 hit points before it's removed from the board. Thus, because there are 4 of these icons, that means that each base star could take potentially 2 damage before it's being destroyed. Mind you, one of them is actually a 2 damage icon, so that actually wouldn't happen. So going through these, this icon is the 2 damage icon. Simply when a base star takes that, it is taken 2 damage, so you've managed to land a pretty good hit. This is the docking bay malfunction icon. When this damage is applied to a base star, that means it can no longer launch new raiders. This is regular raiders and heavy raiders. This is the structural damage icon. If this icon is applied to a base star, that means that any attack against them is actually at a bonus +2 to the result. And finally, this is the weapons malfunction damage icon. If a base star has this applied to them, then that means that they cannot fire on Galactica if the fire on Galactica icon comes up. Vipers can actually be damaged as well. If a Viper is damaged in space, what happens is it's removed from their location and placed over the damaged Viper's location over here. These can actually be restored by using repair cards in Hangar Bay. However, it's also possible for Vipers to be destroyed. If a Viper is destroyed, it's removed from game, never to be seen again. Alternatively, you do have the option of risking Raptors. In all cases, whenever you're using Raptors, and they're sort of a resource like that, if they are lost, they are also removed from game and not to be seen again. Some actions allow characters to activate Vipers. If a Viper is activated, the player can do one of the following things with it. They can either activate a Viper that is not on the board and place it in one of the Viper launch locations. Or they can move a Viper from one space to another. Or if the Viper is in a location with a raider of some sort, or a base star, the activation can actually be chosen to fire on a raider. There are some characters that actually have the piloting icon. The piloting icon actually allows them to pilot Vipers. Generally, if a player wants to pilot a Viper, they use the hangar deck action, in which case they remove their player marker from the board, they place their piloting token in one of the appropriate space locations, and they take a Viper from the reserves and place it on their piloting location. While a character is piloting a Viper, their actions can actually be used to activate it. So during, say, step 2, when they would normally move, they can actually move their Viper. For an action, they can attack one of the other ships. If a character piloting a Viper has their Viper damaged or destroyed, place the Viper in the damaged or destroyed sections as appropriate, remove the pilot icon from the board, and place their character token in sickbay. If, however, the character wishes to return to the Galactica, or even if they want to go over to Colonial 1, while they are already currently launched into Viper, they actually only have to discard one skill card in order to return to either one of those ships, and by doing so, they can return to any location in either one of the ships. Much ado about revealing. First off, when you reveal that you're a Cylon, if you're in the brig, you don't get to use your special power. That kind of sucks. That's why you want to make sure you try to get out of the brig beforehand. Aside from that though, if you're not in the brig, you get to use your special power. Next off, discard your skill cards. As a Cylon, you can only take so much with you when you go to the resurrection ship. Keep 3 skill cards, throw the rest out. That's all you're going to get. Sorry, son. Next, make sure you give away any of those human titles that you have. This is the President or the Admiral. You can't keep those as Cylons. Sorry. Next, this is the great part. You get to go to the Cylon resurrection ship. It's wonderful. You'll enjoy it. It's like a pleasure cruise, a leisure cruise. You get to see a nice view of post-apocalyptic Caprica. It's actually probably not as good as it sounds. But you get to get a super crisis card, my friend. So after you've settled yourself on the Cylon resurrection ship, you have your super crisis card in hand, it's time to enter your turn. So they know you're a Cylon. After you've revealed yourself and you've settled yourself on the Cylon base stars, your turn functions a little bit differently from them humans now. First off, on your turn, you only get 2 skill cards. However, they can be any ones. Your character sheet really doesn't matter anymore, because most of this is just human stuff. On the run of your turn, you can actually only move to other Cylon locations, so you're only going to be in the 4 locations for the rest of the game. And you can actually only take actions that are on those locations. Again, you can't take your individual player actions, and you also can't use any actions off the skill cards. Again, these are mostly beneficial to human players, and who cares about them anymore? At the end of a turn, you don't resolve a crisis card like you normally would have before. There's actually an action you can take where you can choose one of 2 different crisis cards off the top of the deck, or play your super crisis card, and that's a good one. However, on other players' turns, and even on your own, if you play a crisis card that actually has a skill check, keep in mind you can actually only play 1 card now into that skill check, ever. That's all you're ever going to get anymore. Make sure you're contributing at least 1 skill card per skill check. It's probably for the best, because you don't want those humans to win. Because remember, you only win when they lose. Alright, we're just starting our game here now. Kara Thrace is first player. First, she is going to get her skill cards. So she's going to receive 2 piloting, 2 tactics, and her choice of 1 leadership or 1 engineering. Kara's going to go with 1 engineering. Don't really have any other engineers. Next is the movement step. I'm actually where I want to be, so I don't really need to move. Third is the action step. My action is going to be to launch myself into Viper using the hangar deck. So I'm going to remove Kara from the board and place her piloting token here. And place a Viper with her. As part of the hangar deck, I may actually take 1 more action. I'm going to choose to move over to here. Next, we draw a crisis card. Sleep deprivation. Admiral chooses. Alright.
Alright, so now I have to choose to either return all undamaged Vipers on the game board to the reserves and send the current player, i.e. Kenny, to sickbay, or lose 1 morale.
I think we could probably take the morale hit.
Well, yeah, at this point we're still pretty good, so I'm going to choose to lose 1 morale. And then I hand the card back to Kenny and he continues his turn.
Okay, first off, base stars fire on Galactica. So the base star, fire on Galactica. It rolls a 7. That is going to damage Galactica. So we're going to randomly choose one of these damage icons here. And so FTL control is now damaged. Finally, there is a jump prep icon on the crisis card here, so jump prep marker goes up by 1, and the crisis is discarded. The first player token moves to the person on my left, and it will now be Jace's turn. So as you can see, we are a few turns in now. Since last you would have joined us, we've actually resolved the sleeper phase part of the Cobalt objective card. We're under pretty heavy hits from the Cylon ships here, but our jump track marker is actually looking pretty good. So it is currently Kara Thrace's turn. So Kara receives 2 tactics, 2 piloting, and I'm going to go with a leadership now instead of an engineering. Now my original intention was to take care of the ships out here, but again, since our jump preparation track is looking pretty good, and well, if we jump soon anyway, it doesn't really matter what's outside. Instead of dealing with that, I'm going to discard a skill card to return to the BSG. And I'm going to return onto the FTL control. That says my movement. For my action, I'm going to activate FTL control. So the action of FTL control is to jump the fleet if the preparation track is not in the red. It is not, so we then jump. However, because we weren't fully prepared to jump, there's a possibility we may actually lose some civilian ships. So we have to roll for that now. If the result of this die roll is 6 or lower, we are going to lose 1 population. I'm willing to risk it though. I'm first going to use a strategic planning though, which is going to actually add 2 to the result of this die. So I get a 7 plus 2, bam, we don't actually lose any population and the fleet jumps. So when the fleet jumps, all Vipers are returned to reserves. All Cylon ships are removed from the board. Civilian ships are also removed from the board. All pilots are returned back to Galactica, however I'm the only one and I've already actually gone. And next the Admiral actually chooses the next location.
Alright, so I draw 2 of the destination cards. Then I choose one of the 2 cards and place it face up for everyone to read. So I've chosen Remote Planet.
Okay.
In this case we lose 1 fuel and we have to destroy a Raptor.
Oh wow. Okay.
But we move 2, so you know.
That's not bad, so we're getting close to the end there.
Mm-hmm.
That was all during phase 3, which was the action step. So now we actually continue on. So the 4th step is the Resolve Crisis card. This is a rescue mission, which actually is an Admiral chooses, so you get to do that.
So in this case, because it's an Admiral chooses card, I have the choice of 2 options. I can choose to either lose us 1 morale and send the current player, i.e. Kenny, to the sickbay, or I lose us 1 fuel and destroy 1 Raptor. In this case, I think I'm going to have to go with the fuel and the Raptor. We just can't afford to lose Kenny at this point.
Okay, alright. Getting really low on fuel though. So fuel and, wow, that's our last Raptor.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Okay, alright. Alright, so continuing on. Next step is the Activate Cylon Ship step. If there were base stars, they would be firing on us, but there are no stars out there right now, so they do not. And finally is the Jump Preparation step icon, so that moves up 1 more. Next off, the starting player token goes to William Adama, and he continues on with his turn.
Alright, so first of all, I retrieve my skill cards. So I take 3 leadership cards and 2 tactics cards. I'm actually choosing not to move at all. And then, well, Kenny, I have a bit of a secret.
What's that?
I'm a Cylon.
You're a Cylon?
I'm a Cylon.
Oh, I kind of actually knew that.
No, you didn't. You had no idea. So in this case, I reveal my You Are a Cylon card. This particular card allows me to reduce morale by 1.
Okay.
So first of all, I have to discard down to 3 skill cards. Next, because I still have the Admiral title card, that goes to the next person in the line of succession, in this case, Kara Thrace. I move to the Resurrection ship. I receive a Super Crisis card, which I can play on the humans later. And then my turn ends.
We should note that a crisis is not actually drawn at the end of a Cylon's turn, only if they take a Cylon location action that allows them to draw a crisis or play their Super Crisis card. So the first player token after the end of the revealed Cylon's turn is then passed on to Tom Zarek, and we'll continue on from there. Alright, so Battlestar Galactica, the board game. What do you think, Jason?
Well, I really, really enjoy this game. It's probably one of my favorite games. I haven't played it as much as I usually, do, but
Wouldn't play it and don't play it as much as we'd like, for sure.
yeah, but it's a great game. I really think it captures the feel of the show and the sort of the paranoia of BSG. For those who have watched BSG, you know that, but I think it does that really well.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I think is really interesting about this game, because it does actually capture the themes of the show pretty well. One of the things that really impresses me about this is the fact that this is a board game based off of a television series, and when Jason first told me about this game, I pretty much told him to stuff it. I was just like, I don't really have any interest in playing a game based off a television series. This is a fantastic game, though. It's based off the show in spirit, really. It's not just like you're playing through every single episode and it's a linear thing. It's completely different every time you play it.
Yep. And that's one of the things I really like about it, actually, is it's very random in the order of things that happen and stuff like that. So it's actually really replayable, and it's kind of fresh every time.
Yeah, you kind of get to tell your own story each time you play through it. Just because someone is like a secret operative in the series doesn't mean they're going to be a secret operative in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That said, there are a couple of problems. The foremost of which I would say is the difficulty. On the human side, it's really hard for the humans to win the game. And actually, they've released a couple of expansions today, and with the expansions, it actually makes it harder for the humans to win. So that's kind of a bit of a turnoff for me. But it's still a very good game, and the whole Cylon mechanic is really well done too.
For sure.
So
the things that really make this game memorable for most players is the paranoia that it sort of leads in. You never really know who around the table is a Cylon who's a human player. Sometimes someone will just make a poor decision, and you'll be like, "Oh, they're a Cylon!" But they just made a poor decision at a bad time. Like people do, like all people do. Or sometimes you'll have that one guy who plays a Cylon, and he's so sneaky, and he's so good at subterfuge, and he'll just completely turn the game around, and the humans just have their hands tied, just not being able to do anything about it. So yeah, it really adds a very unique aspect to the game, and I would probably say this is the best traitor game with a traitor mechanic that is out there, because you really have no idea who's going to be the Cylon. And you can find out. There's ways of finding out who the traitor is, aside from the traitor just saying, I'm the traitor now! But, even just the whole mechanic of, the sleeper phase, halfway through the game, you could be on the human side the whole time, and then just suddenly, now you're not. And now you just suddenly have to play a little differently. That's really cool.
Yeah, that said, though, there is still sort of, because of the traitor aspect, I find that it really depends on who gets the traitor cards.
This is a big thing too, because you can end up with someone who doesn't really know, they get the traitor card and they think it's really fun, but then they're acting all suspicious, I will play these cards into the skill check. Oh, pardon me.
Well, yeah,
not being suspicious.
If you kind of know who it is because they're not playing it very well, then that kind of ruins the game a little bit.
I think ruins might be a little strong, but it definitely does downplay this paranoia aspect, which is really what makes the game unique and interesting, for sure. Mm-hmm. So I would agree that it makes it sort of downplays the intrigue of the game, for sure. All right, so enough chit chat. What are you thinking, Jason? What would you give this game?
Personally, I give it a 4.5. It's probably, like I said, one of my favorite games, and the only reason it loses the half point is just because of the difficulty on the human side of things.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to have to agree with Jason. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Fantastic game. I really want to give it a 5, but it's really hard to bring new people into this game.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things you got to go through to explain it. I expect this tutorial video actually to be a pretty big one, actually.
Yeah, probably.
After we've done all the editing and such. But yeah, this is a heavy game. There's a lot going on in this. very, very good game. Like, I want so badly to give it a 5, but it's just one of those things. It's just under, and I wouldn't be honest with myself if I gave it a full 5. So, well, and that's going to give us a grand total of 9 meeples, which is a pretty solid grade overall, I'd have to say.
It is. It's still a great game. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all for this week. Join us next time for Nexus Ops.
See you next time, and have good games.